Here's your second video geometry on this desmos geometry. This is, in my opinion, the cooler video because this is actually getting into the relationships. So I'm going to start with a segment. So I'm going to go to the segment tool, make a segment. Say I want to find the midpoint of that segment. If you go more tools, midpoint. So all I need is a segment. I don't have to be in the midpoint. I could just be on that segment somewhere. Notice it's going to put the midpoint if I click. There's your midpoint. All right, let's label that point. So I click on the select tool. Let's label that as M, the midpoint. Notice what happens is if I try to click and drag that, it won't move because it's the midpoint. It'll move the segment, but it won't move that actual point. Now, if I click on one of the endpoints and I make that segment bigger or I make it smaller, notice that that midpoint still stays in the middle of the segment. All right. Next, what if I want to copy some circles using this compass tool? Well, I also need a segment. So let's get another segment. This segment is going to represent the radius of our circle. So if we go more tools, compass. So it says choose a segment as the radius. I'm going to choose this segment right here. I'm going to click on this segment. And notice what happens. I have this circle. Now notice if I move the center of this circle, that is the radius of that circle. But the point of this is to use this circle as a compass somewhere else. And when we get into our constructions later in the year, you'll see what we mean. But if I just click anywhere on the screen, boom, there goes that circle. Now, what's really cool here is if I click on the select tool, now notice this segment was used to make the circle. Notice what happens when I change the length of this segment. Notice that that circle gets smaller. If I make it bigger, it gets bigger. That's because this circle is defined by the radius, which is the length of that segment. Okay. Last but not least, our parallel and perpendicular lines. So let's start with a line. Let's do it right here. And let's put a point out to the side here. Say I want to make a parallel line through this point. So I'm going to go more tools, parallel line. Parallel lines never touch or do not intersect. So notice when I click on that parallel line, it says choose a line. I'm going to choose this line and click on it. And then it says choose a point. Notice I have this gray parallel line. I could put it anywhere. I'm going to put it right onto this point. And I click. And there's your parallel lines. Notice if I take the select tool and I try to move that first line, notice that the second line also moves. They stay parallel. They'll never touch. Okay, and now let's do a perpendicular line. So let's go more tools, perpendicular line. So now I want to be perpendicular through this point to this line. Let's click on that original line and let's click on that point. Notice which way the line's going now. It's this gray kind of line going perpendicular through those two lines. And there I go. Again, notice if I click on the select tool and I move that original line, notice that the relationship stays the same. Now, perpendicular lines meet to form right angles. I can verify that by measuring this angle right here. So I'm going to put a point at that vertex real fast, or that intersection point, I should say. And I'm going to measure these 3 points, the angle that's created by these 3 points. So if I go angle, I'm going to click on this point first, then this point, and then that point. And notice I just measured this angle. It is a 90-degree angle, and notice the right angle box. Again, if I click and drag, that angle stays 90 no matter where I drag that point. So here's some fun construction tools that we can use to better understand our geometry this year.